WandaVision is an incredible story about Wanda dealing with her grief and also accepting her destiny as the Scarlet Witch. And boy, does she look the part! Who'd have thought WandaVision is also a makeover show? And it turned out fantastic! And because Wanda creates her look via magic, she can adjust her costume, adding elements but always looking fabulous. Where does the cape go? It goes into a magical closet, apparently. So let's discuss. We're going to look at this costume from every possible angle, because it's that good. Now, first off, of all the female MCU characters, Wanda's Scarlet Witch costume, I feel, is the most comics accurate and has been the most annoying in its lack of comic book accuracy, in fact, because it's such a distinct look. We've been for years complaining that her costume in the MCU has looked nothing like it. We were so happy when we even saw the Halloween costume version of it. Now, unlike her previous costumes, which had her trying to fit in with the Avengers, this new costume very much signifies that Wanda is doing her own thing. She's so cool! But she still kind of wants to fit in, as she uses a lot of the same fabrics as all of the MCU costumes do. Damn it! Why would the magic costumes, the Earth costumes, and the space costumes all use the same materials? It makes no sense, but it's working for Marvel, so we'll allow it. We don't have a say, so we have to allow it. But this is a good costume. Now, back to the comics. While it seems in the MCU, Magneto is not the father, her costume still mimics his in the movies, which I like a lot. She has his villainous flair. She levitates even the same way. They both villainously come down from the sky. And they have anti-hero status. You never knew what Magneto was going to do. Was he going to do something good? Or was he going to do something bad? It was sometimes a combination of both. And the same seems to be the case for Wanda, which is fantastic. We also haven't really had any anti-hero female characters to date, so I love that both Wanda and Agatha, I think, are in that space. I guess that's what witches are in the MCU a little bit, which I think is cool. I guess if you could have Norse gods, you could have witches. So on that note, in fact, I like that the costume looks like that of a villain. And of any of the Marvel costumes to date, I think it's the closest to Loki's, interestingly enough. Not an Avenger. Well, sometimes, like Wanda, I would love it if she was in a similar space to Loki. And they both have Disney Plus shows. But anyway, Wanda is also an ancient being, just like Loki is. She is the prophecy foretold in the Darkhold, and was even recognized by the Mind Stone. That's how famous she is. And Loki also makes his own chaos. They really would get along, those two. And he also wears a headpiece. That's so funny. Now let's talk about Wanda's crown. We've been waiting for it for so long, and it did not disappoint. It's gorgeous. I love that when witches really turn up the volume on their magic, a crown appears, a magic crown, because they're all queens. That's a great idea. Although Agatha never had a crown materialize. I'm curious, not a purple crown, not a black crown. Where was the crown? But Wanda's is more delicate and detailed, even in magic form, than the Mother Witch that we saw in the flashback. So perhaps because she's just so powerful, her crown is that in focus. That's cool. So delicate and detailed. I love it. Wanda makes that crown real when she creates her new costume in the season finale, but I hope that when she really turns up the volume on her magic going forward, the glowing crown still appears over it, because I really liked that idea. I also want to compliment Elizabeth Olsen on her physical performance in the costume. I mean, she was amazing throughout the entire season. But when she's the Scarlet Witch, when she finally becomes that character here, she's more confident, but at the same time more out of control, and at points, particularly in the end credit sequence, almost possessed by her chaos magic, which I'm sure will play into what happens with her story going forward in Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. The costume is cool, but it really shines as a part of Elizabeth Olsen's overall performance. Now let's talk design. The new costume allows Wanda to wear a skirt, but be still ready for action sequences. This is actually a very old-fashioned idea, this pants and skirt set. But they make it look very modern. And it also looks really elegant from the back, too. It's really, it has like a a very like fancy, high-end aspect to it, but yet it's still a superhero costume. And she can still do action sequences without having to worry about anybody seeing up her skirt. She can fly around. She's in great shape. And while knee-high boots would be tough to do today, although Wonder Woman has made them work, the line work on her pants creates the illusion of knee-high boots, so it's a very good compromise. Also, the vertical lines in the costume overall are very flattering. It's unfortunate, for instance, that Captain Marvel's costume tends to make her look wider. I mean, you can't get thinner than Brie Larson, but that costume is not particularly flattering. The Scarlet Witch's costume, though, in contrast, is quite slimming. The fingerless elbow-high gloves are fantastic, a nod to the comics, but also Wanda's original goth look from when she was first introduced, and they also really nicely highlight her spellcasting with her fingers. Eat your heart out, Doctor Strange! I mean, Agatha had a cool thing as well with the black fingers that they gave her. I thought that was really cool too. The makeup is even different. They really thought this through. No longer innocent. Elizabeth Olsen now has a darker lipstick and more blush to highlight where the crown hits her cheeks. And speaking of the crown, that crown emphasizes her eyes and gives her a more powerful, calculating look. Also, the crown has a lot of detail, but is so sharp, and I think they mirror that. It seemed to me that even her eyelashes were like a little sharper. It just is it's a colder, a little cruel, as Agatha said, but very powerful look as well. And then the hair! Throughout the MCU, like many, I've always asked who's doing blowouts in Avengers Tower, but Wanda no longer has a standing appointment because she's changed her hair. Because her hair always was perfect, even throughout this show. So to make this change is a very clear choice. She now has long, flowing, unruly hair, the hair of a witch, like Agatha had when she showed her true self. And this also gives her more of a visual edge, a bit of a rock star look. She looks really cool. And at the end of WandaVision, she gets that cloak and hood. Crown goes away, interestingly, when she wears the cloak. She wears the hood. She's like, I can't do a hood and a crown. I'm like, sure you could. It's Scarlet Witch. She's like, no, it's a fashion faux pas. But anyway, it gives her a similar silhouette to Doctor Strange and even Agatha. So lots of fabric is the look of the magical group. And then also it's a bit of a nod to Thor and Loki as well with Thor has the cape. I mean, Vision has a cape, but his cape has always been very ephemeral, It doesn't have the heavy fabric feel that Thor's had and that Loki does in some of his looks. And that does give more of a fantasy look to those characters, so it's a very strong choice. Finally, for the cherry on top, literally, is this great red light that highlights her look. And, it's really cool. It's so visually arresting. And interestingly, very similar to how Captain Marvel herself lights up, one of her best qualities visually. This also reminds me very much of Angelina Jolie as Maleficent, who did a great job, particularly in the first movie, with the green magic that she had. And she also had a similar look with a crown and the cheekbones, except, she had built-up cheekbones that she got the idea from Lady Gaga with facial prosthetics. But the blushes, they've done a pretty good approximation for the MCU. So what do you think of Wanda's costume? Share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today for all my WandaVision coverage. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.